Is Britain broken? This is the big thing splashing on lots of newspapers today. And I've just got to say this. What planet is Kemi Badenoch and the Tory party living on? They're out today claiming that Britain isn't broken, and perhaps they need a reminder of their track record and their role in breaking Britain. So I'm going to do that job for them. Net zero, one of the most damaging energy and economic policies. You guessed it, Tory policy. The Chagos surrender deal, embarrassing our nation and costing you billions of pounds. That was Tory policy headed up by James Cleverly, the now shadow housing minister. Non-crime hate incidents. They were formalised and expanded under the Tories. GDP per capita has flatlined since 2008. Of course, since then, it's all been under, mostly, their watch. The woke civil service and more transfer of powers to unelected bureaucrats, that happened under the Tories. 1.2 million migrants let into Britain in 1 year. The Boris wave, it is dubbed. That is Tory policy. In fact, Priti Patel, the shadow foreign secretary, still won't apologise for it in subsequent interviews since they left office. HS2 and Heathrow, the Heathrow third runway. The Tories couldn't even get those built in 14 years. The social care crisis, that's Tory record. The online safety bill, that's Tory policy. No new prisons built whilst importing millions of people. That is, again, Tory policy. The illegal migration crisis, they couldn't even agree on the Rwanda bill. That's Tory policy. Vaccine passports, the Orwellian precursors to digital ID. That's Tory policy too. Failure to deliver Brexit as people desired it, alienating Northern Ireland and leaving us now open to more alignment with the EU. That is Tory record. In fact, Kemi Badenoch, as Business Secretary, was responsible for overseeing the retained EU law bill, which was meant to burn all of the EU legislation holding back our country. She watered that down and has now given Keir Starmer an easy ride to sell Brexit out to the EU today. One new hospital built in 14 years. That is, all of that, just some of the Tory track record in 14 years of government. Britain is broken. In a recent poll, 58% of people think nothing in Britain works anymore. 76% said that things are worse now than in the past. And 97% of GB News viewers, you watching at home, said you believe Britain is broken too. So my strong opinion is that the Tories carried on breaking Britain after the Blair-Brown government started it, and this Labour government is now finishing, clearly, the job. Of course, all of this conversation comes as Robert Jenrick, the former Shadow Justice Secretary, claims the Tories couldn't say Britain is broken because they'd have to admit that they broke it. Does it sound like he was lying about that? I don't know. Well, I asked Kemi Badenoch this yesterday, if she would openly say to you, GB News viewers, that Britain is broken. What do you think of her answer?
What I can tell your audience is that it's quite clear that Robert Jenrick tells a lot of lies, and you can't believe a word that comes out of his mouth. This is a man who was asked yesterday morning, are you going to defect? And he said never to the Chief Whip when we found evidence of the speeches he was going to give. And why has all this happened? Because he's fallen out with people, and those people have brought stuff to us. And I won't say much more than that. But the truth is that this is someone who gave a speech yesterday complaining about things that were already there when he was standing to be leader.
I didn't hear an answer to my question. I didn't hear one. And if the Conservatives aren't ashamed of that record, if they can't openly admit their role in breaking Britain, if they can't take accountability and show some introspection, if they can't apologise, then they do not deserve to govern Britain again. I'm not going to be gaslit into believing everything is hunky-dory in Britain because a bunch of failed politicians don't want to be held accountable for their actions. It's that simple. I'm happy to forgive if people can list out the things they've got wrong, but in this case, that still is yet to take place for the Tories.